let's have our last speaker first, last but not the least. When we were developing this session, we wanted to capture experience of organizations, people who have worked on local sensors already. And if you remember the presentation slides at the introduction of this session, we said that EANET, through this project with Dr. Kao, will try to work with developing some kind of guidelines to help countries, governments in integrating this local sensor into the national conventional air quality monitoring networks. So we looked for experiences in Southeast Asia, at least, where we can invite to be speakers. And one of this is Airparif, Miss Karine Léger, who is, I hope I pronounced this correctly, but if you are online, Miss Karine, please go ahead. We look forward to your slides.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure for me to be here, at least with the distance, but to present what we are doing regarding local sensors and to share our expertise, given the fact that we are already working with some of you, and especially with Dr. Skim's team. So I have a few slides to present what we are doing for the time being. Next one. Next again. Just as an introduction, maybe let you know that in France, air pollution monitoring and citizens information is done by NGO. Airparif is one of them for the Paris region, and we do have in our administration board all the stakeholders, but with the same weight: the state, the local authorities, the economical players, and other experts and NGOs. And this is meant to have around the table all the stakeholders concerned by air pollution. And we are dealing with air, climate, energy, and health. Next one. We have several missions: monitoring air pollution, understand the trends, support citizens and decision makers, and innovation. And that's with the innovation side that we started to work with local sensors and to test and experiment them a few years ago. Next one. One of the key issues for us is really the quality of the data and the air pollution expertise, because our data are used by the different stakeholders, the authorities, because they need them for mitigation plans. There are court cases in France and in Europe. The general public and the media, they need to know also about the air pollution they breathe. The researchers, the economical players, because some of them, and including companies delivering or providing local sensors, they need also the data from the official networks. And we are in a context with the COVID, with the environmental triple crisis, economical impact of air pollution, the regulatory framework with legal dispute, where air pollution is really important. And we have to be sure that each micrograms per cubic meter we measure and we display. Next one. That's next one. That's why we started to test local sensors a few years ago, because of this need of reliable measurements. We have the first international micro sensors challenge that has been launched in 2023 within the year of innovation with the French embassy. And we realize that it's a rapidly developing market, especially in Southeast Asia. There is a demand for independent information and a question regarding the performance of the microsensors, but also question and need to further develop the reference monitoring stations that are quite expensive. And we needed to promote innovation, but also provide guidance to any potential users, the authorities, the private sectors, and citizens. And that's how we came with this international micro sensor challenge. And that's also why we choose to have this edition in Thailand with the support of the French embassy. Next one. Really, the purpose of this challenge is to provide guidance to potential users with independent tests. The objective is to evaluate the performance of the microsensors. We will evaluate the performance for different pollutants. The performance for the different category of use, indoor, outdoor, stationary, mobile monitoring, awareness rising, and in different environments, indoor, outdoor, and in France and in Thailand. This is done through a very independent evaluation in realistic conditions by an international expert jury, and you can see the logo at the bottom of the slide of all the participating organizations. The challenge is open to all the manufacturers, and half of the solution are coming from abroad. And you have here a few pictures of the tests that are being done in France for indoor air pollution, outdoor air pollution, and for the citizens category of use. The perspective for us, the thing which is important, and thank you again for inviting me to this workshop, is really to strengthen the collaboration and to address air pollution in Southeast Asia. There is a strong consortium with the support of the French ambassador and the governor of Bangkok. There is also very strong involvement of Thai university and Thai organization with BMA, NIMT, and IIT. Thank you again, Dr. Kim, for your contribution. And also international and French experts. For this, we had to build a reference station in Bangkok. We deployed the sensors with the support of the NIMT, and there is also data analysis with the support of AIT and BMA. The financial support is also provided by a strong consortium with the Clean Air Fund, Bloomberg Philanthropies, the French Development Agency, and the French Environmental Agency. And the evaluation campaign are in progress. The workshop with the results will take place in November 2003. And I think it could also be a good opportunity to make the link with the project that has been presented, the EANET project and the HAQMN project, to wisely choose a low-cost sensor that could be reliable, or at least that could fit your needs. Just to finish with the lesson learned from the different testings in France. Next slide, please. Those are the lessons learned since we tested microsensors in different conditions. It started 10 years ago. This is very specific from Paris condition with the weather pollution cocktail. But also given the network we already have with reference station, modeling, and emission inventories. Next one. It has already been mentioned, but the key question regarding low-cost sensors is what for? There is no perfect device. It's highly dependent on the brand, on the pollutant measured, and also on the location and the use. We recommend not to display the result in real time, except for citizen sensors, because you really need post-treatment for any kind of use, especially for PM and even more for NO2. There are some imperative needs. It's already been mentioned, but you need existing reference measurements. Whatever station, diffusion tubes, because sensors cannot replace a regulated monitoring network. And you also need this reference station for functional tests. You need also a pre and post deployment test with this reference station, because the performance can be quite different. And you need to test the device with the reference station before having them in the field. Dr. Kim, you also mentioned that the performance of the sensors deviate over time, and you need to be able to monitor these as well. You need to calibrate the device, and also sometimes to improve the algorithm specifically to your local conditions. Next one. That's why most of the time we don't really consider that low-cost sensors are really low cost, because there are different costs behind. The cost of the limited lifetime, the sustainable cost that has to be taken into account with natural resources, and the cost of the data storage that can be huge. The deployment phase and the IT behind, the multiple skills that have already been mentioned also have a cost in addition to the sensors itself. And for some uses, there are also further development that are needed because the technology is improving, but sometimes it's still not satisfactory. Really depend on the use. Next one. In Paris, for the time being, we use them for compliance. We don't use them for compliance checking, for impact assessments of mitigation measure neither, because it's still not reliable enough. However, for citizen science awareness rising, it's performing very well. It's also very promising for indoor air pollution monitoring. And in some cases, like understanding pollution phenomena, like for VOC, for hotspots, it's also quite promising under the ongoing tests. Last one. Just to demonstrate some initiatives that have been done with citizens, not only citizens, but also students, where really local sensors can help to better understand what air pollution really is, to raise awareness, to better understand the sources. And it's a real driver for understanding. But for this, training and pedagogical support really helps and is recommended as well. And the last one, well, and thank you for your attention, but and I'll be happy to further work and discuss this issue with you.
Thank you very much, Karine. Just a very quick follow-up question. Airparif, you said is an NGO, or can you elaborate a bit more on this? Is this a government, semi-government, or totally private organization?
It's totally an association. It's totally an NGO, but we do have a part of mandatory monitoring done on behalf of the Ministry of Environment, and for this we are agreed by the Ministry of Environment. But we are completely an NGO, private sectors, and it's quite specific in France. And this has been made by the French Air Act to have independent organization monitoring and informing about air pollution.
Thank you very much. You have already provided a lot of information and insights for us.